why your altcoins are dying, and how to save your portfolio before it is too late. The hard truth is that most alts have been bleeding against Bitcoin over the last 4 years since 2021, and every alt season has become weaker and shorter. And you can see the proof here. It's all mathematical. This is total 3 minus USDT. So total 3 is the total market capitalization without the top 10 coins. And here minus USDT divided by Bitcoin. Meaning if this goes down, Bitcoin is outperforming altcoins, most of the market. And if this goes up, like it did here, altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin, meaning if it's a sharp parabolic move upwards, it is an alt season. Or like here in 2017, here it was in 2021, and here we had, as you can see, shorter and weaker alt seasons, you could say, so mini alt seasons in late 2024 after the Trump was elected, and in this summer, during this summer. Both you could have identified. You could have also identified the ones back here very easily. I'll show you exactly how you can do that simply using very easy technical analysis and other signals like macro and sentiment. This is exactly how big money does it, how family offices rotate from Bitcoin and other assets into alts right before they explode, and rotate out of it right before they collapse again. So yeah, 95% of alts have been underperforming Bitcoin over the last 4 years at least. And a very common mistake right now is the so-called sunk cost fallacy. A lot of people come to me exactly because of that. They have a strong emotional attachment to their coins. They've invested hours, days, sometimes weeks into research, then bought that coin or a few coins, now just can't, accept that they're underperforming Bitcoin and other assets and just bleeding. And some have made new lows now with the liquidation on Friday, October 10th, back here, where we've reached a new low in this cycle for most altcoins against Bitcoin. So yeah, while your buying power collapses, you're still married to all your altcoins and don't understand that you should rotate into strength always. So if altcoins are the strength, rotate into altcoins. If Bitcoin is strength, rotate into Bitcoins. If it's cash, well, cash it is. So right now we're at a point where retail is just hoping for that last alt season, a final alt season, where they at least go break even or get, towards their numbers and to minimize loss, and then rotate into Bitcoin because they're sick of those altcoins. That's the state we're in right now. So in this video, I will exactly explain how you can rotate into alts when it does make sense and rotate out of them. It's very simple. And that brings us to that question: how can you time an alt season and rotate into alts before the crowd like big money does? And it is very simple. You use Bitcoin dominance and other rotation indexes. So the ideal point to buy was here, sell here, buy here, sell here, right? Same here, buy here, sell up here. Well, you could have done that, yeah, pretty simply actually. For that, we go into this chart, which is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance measures the market share of Bitcoin. And as it goes up, it outperforms altcoins, the rest of the market. As it goes down, it underperforms the rest of the market. So in this case, here you have an alt season, 2017 alt season. In this case, another sharp decline, you have another alt season. And as we go up here, you could say you have a Bitcoin season. So how could you have identified those 3 mini alt seasons here and one here? Well, it's actually simpler than you think, and it's by using the relative strength index. You can find this one here. You go up here, indicators, and look for RSI, relative strength index. You click and it will appear down here. I already have it open, as you can see. And the RSI as such, you can use it. You can, see, okay, we're oversold, overbought here. We might have a move downwards soon, but it's not very reliable if you only use it that way. The higher the time frame, the more reliable, yeah, but you want more confirmation than just that, because here we've been oversold and weeks later we were still overbought. We were still overbought weeks later. So you want to wait for that confirmation. And that confirmation is a divergence. It's a hidden signal in the RSI, and it's very simple. A divergence is basically the price does the opposite of the indicator. For example, here the price is making higher highs, so is the RSI. In this case, the price is making a higher high here, while the RSI is making a lower high. That is a bearish divergence. That's what it's called. And you can identify them like this. You add a little trend line here, very simple. And you see a high, a higher high. In the RSI, you see a lower high, a high and a lower high. By the way, we're in the 3-day time frame, very important. The higher the time frame, the more reliable those signals are, and also that will tell you, okay, if it's on the 3-day, this might last 2-3, maybe a month, 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, maybe even 2 months. So it's very important because the time frame does influence how long it will take to reset, meaning if you see a bearish divergence, you expect a reset on the same time frame of the RSI. A reset of the RSI means going from 70 down to 30, so below 30, from overbought to oversold, and vice versa. So if you see a bullish divergence, which would be a lower low in the price and a higher low in the RSI, you would see a bullish divergence, and then you would see a reset. So meaning something like here, go up here and then reset that divergence. Well, the RSI. And in this case, we are seeing a 3-day bearish divergence on the RSI, which clearly told us, okay, we'll see a outperformance of alts against Bitcoin, which was a clear signal to move into strength into altcoins. So how could I have identified the bottom? Because in this case, the 3-day never got fully oversold, but almost. We went down to 32.43. Well, you use other signals. You use funding rates, fear and greed index, and macro signals. And in this case, the macro signal was huge. So exactly here at the bottom, you can see we had a FOMC meeting where the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, became more hawkish, meaning he was leaning more to not cutting rates. And that basically gave us a pretty big signal that, pretty clear signal that we'll see a move out of risk assets into less risky assets. And that was exactly the top for altcoins. Fear and greed index was, as you can see here, back in November, by the end of November into December, at extreme greed. So another signal. Then the funding rate heat map was completely overheating, and exactly on the day of the FOMC, we just cooled down. in most cases, except Bitcoin. Bitcoin did cool down on when it comes to futures trading, but it cooled down less, and also Bitcoin still kept making new all-time highs due to institutional interest. So that was very clear top signal for alts, and also the bottom for Bitcoin dominance. And as you can see, it was exactly here. December 2nd, in that week, we got the FOMC, and from then on, or the week later, from then on, that was the top. Total 2, by the way, is everything in the crypto market except Bitcoin. So Bitcoin made new all-time highs weeks later into the inauguration of Trump, while altcoins just, plummeted down. And then also on top of that, I almost forgot, Bitconomics was at a key level, of course. So we don't just use divergences, we also use key levels. It was at a huge resistance here at around 58% to 61%. And it declined from here, obviously. And down here, it also found support, which makes sense, which is another big level. So then we have the next one, and I also called that one. We have the next mini alt season. We had this one during the summer we just had in 2025. And that was on the even higher time frame, on the weekly. On the weekly, I identified in mid-June, that where we could form a weekly bearish divergence. And we did so, in fact. We did it in mid-June. We made a higher high in the price. And a lower high on the RSI, on the indicator. That was a very clear signal for me to rotate from some of my Bitcoin position into altcoins. And I was obviously right, as you can see. Bitcoin fell and some altcoins really outperformed Bitcoin. As you can see, Ethereum did so. Ethereum, by the way, this is ETH divided by Bitcoin. So as this goes up, Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. Back here, we also bought Ethereum with a daily bullish divergence. As you can see here, lower high on the price with a higher high, a higher low, a lower low in the price and a lower high in the indicator, which started this whole Ethereum rally. And here we had just shortly, I won't draw this, but I think you should see this. Yeah, you should be able to see this. We had a bearish divergence on the daily, from where on Bitcoin outperformed again, and then we went up again. And then up here we had a bearish divergence. As you can see, the RSI was declining while ETH divided by Bitcoin was making new highs. The bottom was also very easy to identify actually. The market was also overheating, funding rates were overheating. But on top of that, we had a clear signal here with a weekly bullish divergence. So we had this low and this lower low in the index, while the RSI made a higher high, and that on the same time frame. So that was a pretty clear signal to move out of alts. And if you don't believe me, I use this. I can show you actually. Where was it? I think here. Yeah. Well, this is when I started a Bitcoin short at the top. Yeah, Bitcoin strong as expected. We had the weekly divergence here, drawed, and back here I wrote the weekly bearish divergence we identified in June led to the mini alt season we had. So, I wrote this in August, and I started to expect a rise again in September. That was just my gut feeling, and it got confirmed then back here, and it just kept rising in September, and we had this massive liquidation. On top of that, as you can see, I opened a Bitcoin short with a stop loss at 126. That was due to a 3-day bearish divergence on Bitcoin, but on top of that, we also then later on formed a weekly bearish divergence, which was a clear top signal for me, at least local top, and also in that case for altcoins. So we had a bullish divergence Bitcoin dominance, meaning alts will bleed more against Bitcoin again, and we had a Bitcoin bearish divergence, meaning Bitcoin will most likely fall in price too. And in most cases, when Bitcoin falls 10%, altcoins fall 30, 40, 50%. So that's why Bitcoin dominance will go up. So I identified this, I shared it, I opened a short. You can even check on X. I did it all publicly, and everyone could have copied me easily. And shortly after, we even had this massive liquidation. And I remember just a few days before, everyone mocked me and said, oh no, we're going to 130, 140, 150. And I said, no, I stick to the system like big money does, and I short. And I shorted down to about 105,000, 8,000 average. And I was right. I didn't get liquidated. My stop loss was at 126K. And we just kept it going. So pretty simple. For obviously an alt season to work out, Bitcoin has to perform well. So in this case, you also should use other indexes like USDT dominance. It's a very simple one. This just measures Tether's market share in the market. As this goes up, you see more cash flowing out of altcoins and Bitcoin into stable coins. As this moves down, cash is flowing back into the market. So here we were at a pretty big macro level too. And so were we here in 2024, by the end of 24, and here. It's pretty simple. As you can see, the system is clear and easy to understand, and everyone can follow it. I don't think it's that hard. If I learned it, you can too. And by the way, if you do need help, if you want me to diagnose your situation, your system, your strategy, your portfolio, I offer one-on-one diagnosis calls where I analyze your whole portfolio and everything, and I'll point out your weaknesses and show you exactly what you need to do right now before it's too late. So to summarize, use Bitcoin dominance to see rotation before they happen, the trend reversal, by using the RSI on the higher time frame, the daily, the weekly, maybe even the monthly. Haven't seen those signals yet on the monthly, but definitely on the 3-day and weekly. Use the RSI, not alone, use it with divergences, and also use other sentiment signals like the greed and fear index, the funding rate heat map, and other ones I'm sharing in my free videos. And to properly do all this, you obviously need that whole confluence in the market. So you want to see Bitcoin dominance with a bearish divergence, meaning it will go down, altcoins will go and outperform. You want to see, a strong Bitcoin, or at least consolidating Bitcoin. And you also want to see upside for Bitcoin. So not that we're at the top, because then it's really hard for altcoins to outperform, especially if we correct. So that is how you time every market, and you have that whole shift from hope to control. So you don't really hope for an alt season anymore. You time them, and you stay in your strength during the whole cycle. You cut your weaknesses, so you eliminate this so-called sunk cost fallacy, where you are emotionally attached to investments and are accepting that you're not married to any of those investments. You're here to make money and not to, stick to a project because some influencer said it's going to whatever. You cut the noise, you rotate into strength, you build up your Bitcoin position while Bitcoin dominance rises. You only rotate when Bitcoin dominance breaks down, and you have that RSI confirmation with a divergence on the higher time frame. Don't go on the lower time frames for that. We're not day trading here, we're on the higher time frame. And accept the fact that those alt seasons are shorter and weaker. We're not in 2021 or in 2017 where everything went parabolic. Especially in 2021, we had a massive amount of dollars being printed and given away for free. So we're not in that. We're in a, well, we are not in a worse, we're not in a bad economy in that case, but most of society are even having a hard time to buy groceries. So I don't think we're seeing an alt season anytime soon with that. And yeah, ignore the gurus, scream for alt season. I mean, they're screaming for alt season down here, but it already happened. They're screaming for alt season down here. It happened again. So just stick to your system. It's very simple. Technicals, stick to the RSI and divergences and the key levels. You don't need more than that. You don't need Fibonacci and all those technicals. You need just 2, 3. That's enough. Trust me. I've done this for 5 years, and my people too, the ones I taught, they're having a lot of success with it. And use sentiment indicators like the fear and greed index, funding rate heat map, and also use the macro signals. Try understanding what the Fed does and why it's important, how liquidity moves, things like that. And don't just read headlines and hope for rate cuts. Read and understand. So yeah, if you need help, make sure to book a diagnosis call with me one-on-one. You can do that. Press the link below in the description, and I hope this video helped you. God bless you.